the criticisms about Bernie and AOC having bad takes are not necessarily wrong. But the problem is, and then what? And then what? There are things that I can tell you that are absolutely true and get you to feel like a certain perspective shift, but it's ultimately futile and pointless, right? Like, if you've watched my stream long enough, you should probably understand that I think that Bernie Sanders and AOC are at most temporary allies. But I don't shoot at my allies. And why are they my temporary allies? I've talked about this many, many, many times. The answer is people don't think about politics against some sort of ideal political framework that they like. They don't even have a political framework. They don't even have an ideology. At most, what people have is maybe they've heard a policy or an idea or a speech that they like. They feel some sort of emotional connection to it. And then there are individuals who they trust, who are avatars of those ideas. Like, when we think of the New Deal, you don't think of a long list of policies. You think of FDR the man. When you think of the Emancipation Proclamation, you don't think of the millions of Americans who worked at abolition and fought in the Civil War. You think of Abraham Lincoln. Hell, when you think about the Russian Revolution or the Chinese Revolution, you don't think of the millions of Russians and Chinese and members of the Russian Empire and the millions of sailors and soldiers that mutinied. You think of Lenin and Mao. Now, obviously, Lenin, Mao, Abraham Lincoln, whatever the fuck, they are not the ones who did the thing, but they stand in for the thing. And whether you like the thing or not depends on your opinion of those guys. So that's kind of the point we're at, where it's like Bernie Sanders, AOC are temporary allies, especially for Americans. And as I've said many, many times, revolution doesn't happen during right-wing repression and fascism. Revolution happens during periods of frustrated reform. And so setting up Bernie and AOC or whoever else on the so-called left, they're more likely the center left, to go into office, there'll be one of two outcomes. They will achieve a swath of concessions, which will materially improve your life. Or two, they will fail because they will be blocked by anti-democratic capitalist forces. And that'll piss us all off. So either we get it one small W or one big W. Either way, that's a W.
I would not be telling you the truth if I didn't tell you that within the Democratic Party, there are billionaires who have undue influence.
83-year-old independent Senator Bernie Sanders is drawing crowds even bigger than he did as a presidential candidate.
Well, I mean, part of the reason why he's drawing more people is because he's not running for president, right? I think a lot of people have been asking, what is the point of this? And I want to explain to you what the point is. The point is, one, to show that people are resisting Trump, that they don't agree with what Trump is doing, number one, which is incredibly important. Because if you don't show a bunch of people saying they don't agree with it, then there's going to be more compliance and more surrender. So just from the point of view of the conversation of whether what Trump is doing is popular or not, this is incredibly important for that. Number two, the establishment doesn't expect it, right? The establishment is getting blindsided because it's not a presidential cycle, right? And they only do rallies when they can get something from you. Bernie Sanders going around and doing rallies is something that they don't expect. The third thing is he's changing the conversation. Who are the people that are actually fighting Trump? Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are saying, we're too weak. We can't fight back. There's nothing we can do. Oh, no. Oh, guess we have to pass all your policies. Oh, bleh. Bernie Sanders is saying we can fight back. And so the rank and file Democrat has a choice. Bernie Sanders hates Trump and is fighting Trump, or Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer are enabling Trump. And so this creates a situation where Bernie and the people who align with him are more popular among the base. And that sets us up in the future. And then finally, hopefully, and I hope they get better at this, organizing people into local organizations. Now, if you have a DSA chapter, if you have a PSL chapter, and you are not going out there to organize people, and I want you to understand something, chat. The strategy to organize should not be Bernie Sanders is a sellout. We're the real people. We're the real resistors. If that's your strategy, you're a fucking idiot. You should be going out there and saying, we are the people in the community that are doing shit to fight back and pressure our representatives and pressure our politicians and pressure our systems here. So if you want to fight back, join us. That's the opportunity. So basically what I'm trying to say is at the Bernie Sanders rally, the strategy that you should be pursuing is not to attack Bernie, not to attack AOC, but to be Bernie Sanders plus, AOC plus, because that's where the people who are showing up to a Bernie Sanders rally are. And then later you could talk about problems that you have with Bernie Sanders and AOC once you've established trust and once you've established good faith. And you can be like, AOC and Bernie Sanders are wrong about X, Y, and Z, but we're showing solidarity on X, Y, and Z. It's a very, very simple point. You go and you operate according to a strategy that is going to bring the masses to you, not, separate yourself from the masses and put yourself on some sort of pedestal of enlightenment. Who gives a fuck? Fight your enemies and hug your friends. And here's the thing about Bernie and AOC. The number one criticism I get is that Mike is a sock dem who likes Bernie and AOC. And it's very funny because it couldn't be farther from the truth. It couldn't be farther from the truth. The answer is I am hiding my power level and going where the masses are to convert as many people as I can to a worldview that they would never otherwise consider but for the entree that Bernie Sanders and AOC give me. I'm doing the strategies that other political ideologies have done very well, which is create a pipeline. Don't punch left. I only punch right. And the normal, everyday, average person in their mind, and if you disagree with this, you are wrong. All right, this is the most important point. This is the disagreement I have with people like Abadim Panada. For the average everyday person, Bernie Sanders and AOC are the left. I'll say that again. For the average everyday American, Bernie Sanders and AOC are the left. That's it. I know that they're not. AOC and Bernie Sanders are not the left. They're the center. They're centrists, but they're the actual centrists. They're the people that we should be arresting in our new utopian society as being reactionary. That's my goal. My goal for my politics is to make Bernie and Sanders and AOC seem like right wingers. But you don't do that by isolating yourself off in some sort of academic bubble and social bubble. You say, okay, what are people excited about when they watch Bernie Sanders and AOC? Are they excited about supporting some sort of mush-mouthed, like, liberal Zionism? Like, what are they excited about? What are they talking about? They're talking about peaceful foreign policy. They're excited about expanding the social safety net. They're excited about a Green New Deal. If you don't agree with me on this, you're just out of touch. I don't know what else to say. Like, the average everyday person doesn't know what PSL is. The average everyday leftist doesn't know what PSL is. And it's not because they're wrong about shit. Actually, I think a lot of the people that are cranky lefties are mostly right about things. The problem is not that you're right. The problem is that you don't have the masses. And I don't think shitting on Bernie and AOC is going to achieve you the masses support that you think it is. If anything, it's going to disempower, deorganize people. And that's the opposite of what I want to do. And it's the same thing. I mean, Lenin talks about this. A lot of ultras are like, oh no, trade unions are reactionary. And it's like, that's where the masses are, dummy. That's where you're helping people gain class consciousness. That's why you're giving people collective economic power, you dumbass. It doesn't matter if they have reactionary tendencies. It doesn't matter if trade union consciousness is the peak of what they're going to naturally develop. You're right. And it's still worth gaining. What I'm trying to say is you go where the masses are, but you also try to maintain your leftist character. And it's a difficult balancing act. If you're a left winger right now, what Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing for you is a goddamn gift. If you can't see that, you're dumber than dirt. They're going around and concentrating the most like-minded people in one place that for you to go and talk to. They're making it easier than ever. This is the most fertile ground for radicalization that you're ever going to see in your entire fucking life, and you're criticizing it? Get off your ass and do something, you dumb